You went to work. You work a common 9 to 5 job. You have a son that's grown. He's 19 years old. He comes home from time to time to visit you. But the rest of the time he's in a student dorm. He's studying. So you arrive home one day, and normally your son would call you saying, "Mom, how are you doing?" But this day you don't hear anything. Then you see the news that a building catched fire and collapsed. And you think, whoa. You feel sorry for the relatives of the people that died. The next day, you don't hear anything from your son either. So you think, let me call my son. Your son isn't answering. On the third day, you have police officers come to your door. And you ask them, "Officers, what goes on?" They look quite worried. And you ask them, "What goes on?" They tell you, "Ma'am, we have bad news. Your son died." You mean, how do you mean my son died? That building that catch fire and collapsed, your son was in it when it happened. Well, you have a big mental breakdown. Your only child passed away, such a horrible way, and the police ensured you they're doing their investigation to find out what happened. But you, being the single mom you are, think, hey, I'm not taking this. My son died. I want to know why. You begin to talk around a little bit with other people. Then you begin to hear rumors about the construction of the building. The building was built 30 years ago. So, long story short, you find out one of the construction workers that worked there when the building was constructed. The construction worker is in his 60s now. He was in his early 30s back then. And he tells you, "Ma'am, back then, when I was working on that building with my colleagues, we all figured out that the building was not sustainable." So he asked them, "What do you mean the building's not sustainable?" The construction worker comes back with some documents. "Ma'am, these were the construction papers we had to work with. And we figured out quickly that it was not a good foundation in the building. And the materials we were given to work with were cheap materials. We complained about this, but our complaints were shut down. And we were told that we wouldn't get any pay for that month if we didn't finish the work. Look, ma'am, I had a family to take care of. I had the little children back then. So I just shut my mouth and I continued. We reported it. We did what I had to do. But hey, the building was finished and they began to use it. I didn't bother with the building anymore. 2 months ago, I saw on the news that the building collapsed. I felt guilty that I was part of constructing that building." And you tell them, "Sir, it's not your fault. You did your part. You reported everything. But can you tell me who gave the assignment to build that building?" And construction worker gives you a business card from 30 years ago. "This real estate office, the one this building to be constructed." So you dig deeper and you find out that this real estate office had suspicious origins. And some of the clients in the past were later arrested for human trafficking, drug dealing, counterfeiting money. So it got clear to you that your son became collateral damage because somewhere in the past people did not want to face certain things. Instead, he insisted in doing whatever they wanted to do, disregarding the future risk for other people. And because of that, your son is dead. Of course, you want justice. Now, why did I give you this parable? Understand the following here. Anytime bad things happen in the world, it's either because of human neglect or because of human offense. What I mean, when people are offended, people are upset, they generate negativity. This negativity pollutes the climate. This pollution will cause malfunction in the environment. And this malfunction will be in the form of accidents. So anytime sudden tragedy happens, it's either because of human offense and someone else became collateral damage, or people didn't do what they had to do. They neglected their natural obligations, and also someone else is paying the price for it. This I want you to understand. Society is perfectly fine with future collateral damage. As long as the people today are left alone and are at ease, they don't care about anything else. The public only cares about being left alone and being unbothered today. Future collateral damage, don't even think about it. Let's say you have a serial killer that was captured by the police. Or you have this guy who became a mass killer. He shot up a whole mall, killed over 50 people in a mass shooting. Let's say both suspects are arrested, but you find out these suspects used to be severely traumatized as children. That's not a justification for what they've become, but it did contribute to what they became. Just killing the perpetrators won't solve anything. Those people that died, died. But how did this little boy turn into this monster? Who contributed to it? All those people have to be held accountable. Guess what? Decades ago, when this perpetrator was a little boy and the parents were abused the little boy, the community didn't want to intervene. They wanted to be left alone and unbothered by that situation. They even blamed the little boy when he was a teenager, when he acted out. As a teenager, he acted out because of the psychological damage you went through. Instead of the community saying, listen, we're sorry for what your parents did to you, for not intervening, here's therapy. Instead of doing their part, they blamed the kid. Well, guess what? That all contributed to him becoming this monster. So you can't put all the blame for the mass shooting or the serial killing on the perpetrator. Everyone who contributed in him becoming that way is responsible and is to blame. But guess what? Decades ago, when the little boy was being abused by the parents, nobody cared. People only cared about being left alone and being at ease. So, future collateral damage was an acceptable loss for these people, as long as they today had their ease. So, sometimes it happens that you encounter difficulty or bad outcomes because of other people's neglect or other people's negative meditation. Now, those people had no idea you even existed, but they were aware that their attitude was wrong and will lead to damage. But to them, it was an acceptable loss that someone in the future may face difficulty with it, as long as they at ease. Understand this. Fallen mankind is neglectful. I've addressed this multiple times on this channel. That's why you have to be ahead of the public's neglect. You can't undo their neglect. You cannot change these people for the better. What you can do is be ahead of their neglectful attitude to make sure you, not those around you, end up as collateral damage. Well, that's it for now. Keep on creaming Christ and be at peace.